I stashed $92,000 in Mom's safe to close on my condo. The next morning, she was gone with the cash and a note that read, "Family first." I laughed. Those bills were marked and already frozen. I thought the worst betrayal was watching my life savings evaporate right in front of my eyes, stolen by the very people who were supposed to protect me. But what came next would shatter everything I thought I knew about family, forcing me to confront a darkness I never imagined. I pulled into my parents' driveway, the late afternoon sun glinting off something sleek and utterly unfamiliar. It was a brand new electric SUV, champagne metallic, gleaming like a jewel. My sister, Maris, was practically draped over it, one manicured hand caressing the hood like it was the love of her life. My coffee mug, still in my hand, slipped. It clattered to the asphalt, splashing hot coffee across my khaki pants. I barely felt the sting. All I could feel was a sudden, cold dread. "Surprise visit?" I mumbled to myself. Then Mom called from the porch, waving as if this were just any ordinary Thursday. "We were just about to call you." I forced my legs to move, each step forward, feeling like trudging through quicksand. This was supposed to be a casual family dinner where I'd finally share my news. After 7 long years, I'd found my dream home. A modest 2-bedroom with a mountain view, and Eliza, my realtor, swore my offer would be accepted. "What is this?" My voice came out thin, barely audible over the pounding in my ears. "Isn't it gorgeous?" Maris squealed, patting the hood. 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. Mom looped her arm through mine, guiding me toward the vehicle. We figured it was about time Maris had something reliable. "You know how dangerous that old clunker of hers was getting. And how exactly did you pay for it?" The question scratched my throat like broken glass. "Oh, we used that safety fund you opened back in college." Mom's tone was casual, as if commenting on the weather. It just made sense. The money was sitting there, and Maris needed this now. My knees nearly buckled. 7 years. 7 years of disciplined saving. Bringing sad plastic containers of lunch to work while colleagues ordered delivery. Declining weekend trips. Wearing clothes until they frayed. All while watching Denver housing prices climb higher each month. My house fund. The words emerged, strangled. "Well, technically, yes," Dad said, emerging from the garage. "But you weren't using it right now, and family helps family." My fingers fumbled for my phone. I stepped away from their cheerful cluster, hands trembling as I dialed my bank. "I need to freeze all joint accounts immediately," I said, loud enough for them to hear. "Effective now." "Isolde?" Dad's voice sharpened. "What are you doing? You're overreacting. Family helps family." The banking representative confirmed my instructions. My hands stopped trembling as I checked my balance. $247. $247. That was $92,000, I said, each word falling like a stone. "Every penny I've saved since college." "Well, technically it was just 86,000, Maris corrected, fingering her new key fob. "The rest was trade-in value on my old car. The money was in a joint account," Mom explained, her voice hardening. "We're family. You've always been too uptight about money." "Uptight?" The word exploded from my chest. I worked overtime for 7 years. I skipped vacations. I lived in a studio apartment with mold in the bathroom because I was saving every extra dollar. "And now your sister has reliable transportation," Dad answered firmly. "You'll save again. You've always been good with money." Their words settled around me like ash. My parents stood shoulder to shoulder with Maris, a united front. The realization hit me with startling clarity. They had always seen me as a resource, not a person. My dream home with the mountain view vanished like smoke. The years of sacrifice evaporated in an instant. "You stole my future," I whispered. "Don't be so dramatic," Mom sighed. "It's just money." I looked at them, really looked at them for the first time. The parents who taught me to respect others' property. The sister who borrowed my clothes without asking throughout high school. The family patterns suddenly crystal clear. "Take from Isolde, she'll understand." Not anymore. I turned toward my car, my legs steady now, a hard purpose hardening within me. Isolde, dinner's almost ready. Mom called after me. I didn't answer. I didn't look back. I'd given them enough. The next day, I stared at my monitor, my fingers hovering motionless above my keyboard. The quarterly report for the Henderson account sat half-finished, but I couldn't focus on asset allocation strategies when my own finances had just imploded. Something nagged at me. If they took my house funds so casually, what else might they have done? I opened my archived email folder and typed "signature required" in the search bar. Hundreds of results popped up: routine work documents, insurance renewals. Then I saw it. Congratulations on your new Platinum Plus visa. A credit card application from 3 years ago. Asterisk, I never applied for a Platinum Plus visa. Asterisk, my fingers trembled as I clicked open the email. There, at the bottom, my signature, perfect in every detail, on a document I never saw. I kept searching. 2 student loan applications for Maris. A cash-out refinance on a property I'd never owned. A personal loan from First Colorado Credit Union. All bearing my flawless digital signature. The bathroom stall door banged shut behind me as I collapsed onto the closed toilet lid, my phone clutched against my chest. I'd been sitting here for, I checked my watch, 27 minutes. My 2:00 meeting with the Hendersons started 12 minutes ago. This wasn't just theft. This was identity fraud, forgery, criminal activity spanning years, not moments. My own parents. The thought sent bile rising in my throat. Later that evening, my apartment felt smaller than usual, the walls pressing in as Reed connected his laptop to mine. His salt and pepper beard caught the blue light from his screen, making him look older than his 36 years. You sure you want to do this? He asked, his fingers paused above his keyboard. Once we go digging. They emptied my house fund. Reed, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I need to know everything. He nodded once and began typing, his cybersecurity expertise opening doors I couldn't access alone. We spent hours tracking digital breadcrumbs through statements, applications, and loan documents. Each discovery landed like a physical blow. Jesus, Reed whispered, pushing his glasses up his nose. His expression shifted from professional concentration to personal horror as the numbers added up. Isolde, this is. Keep going, I said, my shock hardening into something colder, more focused. The betrayal unfolded in spreadsheet columns and PDF attachments. My sister's student loans, $78,200. With my name as cosigner. A cash-out refinance against my parents' home for $160,000, bearing my forged signature as guarantor. 3 credit cards. A personal loan. A furniture store financing plan. $276,400 siphoned over 5 years. They used your social security number for most of these, Reed said, his voice gentle as if speaking to someone gravely ill. And they had access to your email to approve the electronic signatures. I remembered setting up their accounts years ago, showing them how to manage bills online. The password recovery questions they could easily answer. My first pet's name. My elementary school. My childhood best friend. What happens now? Reed asked, stretching his back after hours hunched over our computers. The question snapped everything into focus. What happens now is that my career could be destroyed. I work at a financial firm where trust is everything. If anyone discovered my name connected to this web of fraud, even as a victim, my reputation would be irreparably damaged. My phone pinged with a credit monitoring alert. My score had dropped 160 points overnight. The Mountain View condo slipped further away. With this credit score, no bank would approve my mortgage application. I opened my contacts and selected Eliza's number. My finger hovered over the call button, then slid to the message icon instead. Asterisk, need to cancel tomorrow's meeting about the condo offer. Something's come up. We'll explain later. Asterisk. I set down my phone and turned back to Reed's screen, where the evidence of my family's betrayal glowed in the darkness of my apartment. The next morning, I called the bank's fraud department during my lunch break. I paced the small courtyard behind our office building, phone pressed to my ear, autumn leaves crunching beneath my sensible work heels. "We take these matters very seriously, Ms. Drummond," the fraud specialist said. After I'd explained my situation, "The documentation you've submitted clearly shows unauthorized use of your identity. We'll be opening an investigation immediately." Validation washed over me. Someone believed me. Someone saw the truth. As I hung up, I faced a crossroads. Should I handle this privately and protect my family's reputation, or should I report everything to the authorities? The first path might save our relationship, but the second would ensure justice. What do you do when those who should protect you become the ones you need protection from? 3 days later, the second phone call from Aunt Vivian came at 6:14 a.m. I silenced it without looking and rolled over, pressing my face into the pillow. My phone immediately buzzed with a voicemail notification. "The third one this morning. Isolde, honey, your father called us last night. We're so worried about you." Her voice wavered with practiced concern. "This obsession with money isn't healthy. Family supports each other through thick and thin. Please call me back." I deleted the message and stared at my ceiling, the gray morning light casting shadows across the water stain in the corner of my rented bedroom. 3 days since I froze the accounts. 3 days of relentless pressure building like a thunderstorm. By noon, Uncle Gerald called about my mental state. Cousin Rebecca texted about a therapist who specializes in financial anxiety. My mother left for voicemails suggesting I might need professional help with this money fixation. The family narrative was solidifying. Isolde is having a breakdown. Isolde is irrational. Isolde doesn't understand family obligations. I muted my phone and arrived at work 30 minutes early, needing the quiet of an empty office. A certified letter waited on my desk, forwarded from my apartment. My hands trembled as I tore it open. Formal notice of intent to pursue legal action for financial abandonment if joint accounts are not reopened within 72 hours. The paper slipped from my fingers. My parents were threatening to sue me. Later that night, I spread my credit report across my kitchen table, each page revealing new horrors. 3 credit cards I never applied for, all maxed to their limits. My signature forged with a precision that made my stomach clench. The first card opened 6 years ago, a platinum rewards card, with a $25,000 limit. The second 4 years ago. The third just last Christmas, when Mom hugged me extra tight and said how blessed she was to have such a generous daughter. Sleep became a luxury I could no longer afford. Dark circles formed beneath my eyes. Coffee became breakfast, lunch, and sometimes dinner. During a client presentation, I stumbled over numbers I'd reviewed a dozen times. My boss, Landon, frowned, concern etched across his forehead. "Everything all right, Isolde? You seem distracted lately." "Just tired," I lied, forcing a smile that felt like cracked glass on my face. That night, I nearly missed the deadline for the Harriman account, a $1 million portfolio I'd managed flawlessly for 3 years. The realization jolted me awake at 3 a.m. I submitted the paperwork 4 minutes before the system would have locked me out. Something had to change. I cleared my dining table and started fresh. A clean notebook, color-coded, sticky notes. I created a detailed timeline of every unauthorized transaction, each forged signature, every account, every dollar. The betrayal mapped out in meticulous detail across my wall. Hour by hour, night after night, I built my case. Bank statements dating back 7 years. Credit applications I never signed. Loan documents with forged initials. Each piece of evidence labeled, dated, and organized chronologically. I documented patterns, highlighted inconsistencies, cross-referenced statements. My living room transformed into an investigation hub. The yellow glow of my desk lamp spilled across papers that told the story of years of systematic theft. When the wall ran out of space, I used the floor. When my notebook filled, I started another. The morning light caught on a pattern I hadn't noticed before, a recurring transfer of exactly $1,273 on the 15th of each month for the past 3 years. I traced it to a vacation property in Florida I'd never visited. My phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it, assuming another relative with concerns. Miss Drummond? This is Detective Rowan Bateman with the Financial Crimes Unit. I've been reviewing your case file. I gripped the phone tighter, breath caught in my throat. Miss Drummond, in 15 years of financial crimes, I've rarely seen documentation this thorough. We're opening a formal investigation today. For the first time in weeks, something lifted inside my chest. Validation. Someone believed me. The lightness lasted exactly 7 hours until my mother called with a voice like honey. Isolde. Sweetheart, we need to talk. We're having a family meeting tonight at 7. Everyone will be there. I recognized the trap immediately. The ambush disguised as reconciliation. Still, I went. Driving to their house felt like approaching a battlefield without armor. My parents and Maris waited in the living room, arranged on the sofa like a united front. Dad's jaw tight. Mom's eyes glistening with perfect tears. Maris examining her manicure. We've always supported you, Mom began, patting the seat beside her. I remained standing. This whole situation has gotten out of hand. You've always been so good with money. Can't you just let this go? What's family for if not to help each other? The familiar script. The subtle manipulation. The redirection of blame. Family is for love, not theft, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. You didn't borrow, you stole my future. Dramatic as always, Maris sighed, rolling her eyes. 3 credit cards. 2 personal loans. 1 cash-out refinance. I ticked off each item on my fingers. All in my name. All. Without my knowledge. We would have paid it back eventually. Dad snapped, color rising in his face. The revelation hit me with startling clarity. I didn't need their approval to protect myself. I never did. The Financial Crimes Unit doesn't see it that way, I said, turning toward the door. Neither does the prosecutor. The chaos erupted behind me. Shouting. Threats. Please. None of it touched me anymore. Outside, my phone buzzed with a text from Eliza. Asterisk got photos of the SUV being repossessed. Sending them to Detective Bateman now. Asterisk another message from Reed. Asterisk recovered the digital signatures from the bank's server before they could be deleted. Data secured. Asterisk my support network. People who respect boundaries. People who understand right from wrong. At work the next morning, I spoke up in a meeting for the first time in weeks, my voice clear and confident. Landon nodded approvingly as I presented my analysis. The weight hadn't disappeared, but it had shifted somehow, becoming manageable. That evening, I organized everything for the prosecutor. Bank statements, credit reports, forged documents. Each piece of evidence telling part of a larger story of betrayal. My phone rang. Detective Bateman again. Miss Drummond, we've discovered something you should know. This isn't the first time. There are previous cases of identity theft connected to your family. Other victims. The news settled over me, not as a shock, but as confirmation of something I'd suspected all along. Next day at work, my office phone lit up. Landon's extension. Isolde, could you come to my office? His voice sounded strained. Your sister just applied for a position here, using you as a reference. 10 minutes later, I arranged the documents on the compliance officer's desk with surgical precision. Bank statements, loan applications, forged signatures. My hands no longer shook when I handled the evidence of my family's betrayal. Miss Drummond, you understand the seriousness of these allegations? The compliance officer, Mr. Winters, peered at me over half-moon glasses. His initial skepticism had evolved into something else. Entirely, a professional alarm that brightened his eyes. I do. My voice remained steady as I pointed to the fraudulent job application. My sister listed me as her reference, claiming 5 years of financial management experience she doesn't have. She also forged my signature as guarantor on this application. I tapped the document where Maris attempted to mimic my handwriting. The loop's too rounded. The cross is too high. Her credit history would never qualify her for this position. I continued. The background check would eventually flag these discrepancies, but I wanted to ensure the company was aware immediately. Mr. Winters examined the documentation with growing concern. This pattern extends beyond this application. Yes. I slid forward the police report. Detective Bateman is handling the criminal investigation into multiple instances of identity theft and fraud. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Winters, there's a situation in the lobby requiring your attention. In the lobby, Maris created the scene I anticipated. Mascara streamed down her face, her voice pitched to carry across the marble flooring. My sister is destroying our family. She clutched the arm of a security guard who looked profoundly uncomfortable. She's always been jealous of me, always wanted to hurt me. I remained by the elevator, watching as Landon, my supervisor, approached with the head of security. Ma'am, you need to leave the premises, the guard said. But she stole my money. Maris wailed, pointing at me. I only borrowed it. She knows that. The security cameras captured everything her confession wrapped in a denial. Landon's eyebrows rose as he glanced my way. Please escort Miss Drummond's sister out, he instructed, and save that security footage. That afternoon, the company initiated a formal fraud investigation. The compliance team discovered 3 other applicants with suspicious financial backgrounds who listed my sister as a reference. The scope widened beyond what even I anticipated. Later, Detective Bateman called as I was unlocking my apartment door. The prosecutor believes we have enough for criminal charges against all 3 family members, he said without preamble. But I need to know, do you want to press charges against your own parents? I froze, keys dangling from my fingers. Miss Drummond? Isolde? When Detective Bateman asked if I wanted to press criminal charges against my own parents, I hesitated. Would seeking full legal consequences bring justice and closure? Or would finding another way to hold them accountable preserve some remnant of family I might need someday? Yes, I finally answered. I want to press charges. The following morning, Landon called me into his office. The blinds were drawn, casting striped shadows across his desk. That was quite a situation yesterday, he said, motioning for me to sit. I've reviewed your work since you joined us 3 years ago. My stomach tightened. Despite everything, I'd maintained my professional standards, but perhaps the drama had finally contaminated my career. Your ability to detect inconsistencies is remarkable, he continued. The way you documented your own family's fraud shows exceptional attention to detail and ethical commitment. He slid a folder across the desk. We're creating a new position. Senior Risk Strategist. I opened the folder. The salary listed was nearly double my current compensation. Think about it, Landon said, but don't think too long. We need someone immediately. That evening, Eliza called. I found something, my realtor said, excitement threading through her voice. A Mountain View condo. Smaller than the house you wanted, but with your promotion and what you've saved since the theft, it's within reach. How did you know about the promotion? I asked. Denver's financial world is small, she laughed. So, want to see it tomorrow? For the first time in weeks, something like hope flickered in my chest. The next day brought news that the prosecutor had filed formal charges against my parents and Maris. Bank fraud, identity theft, criminal conspiracy. My phone buzzed with notifications from family members who once ignored my warnings. My aunt's message read, "Just heard what happened. We had no idea. Call if you need anything." I set the phone aside without responding. That evening, I drove past my parents' house. A foreclosure notice hung on the front door, partially obscured by a real estate flyer. The house that witnessed my childhood was now collateral damage in their scheme. I felt nothing but a cold certainty as I drove away. The court date was set for next month, where I'd deliver my victim impact statement. The words were already taking shape in my mind, sharp and precise as surgical instruments. Family helps family. My father's words echoed as I accelerated onto the highway. He was right. About one thing. I am helping my family. I'm helping them face the consequences of their actions. Some lessons come at great cost, but they come nonetheless. The cream-colored envelope arrived on a Tuesday, 3 days before the court confrontation. No return address, just my name and my father's once steady handwriting, now trembling across the paper. Like an old man's confession. I knew who it was from before I slid my finger under the flap. The letter inside bore actual tear stains, smudging the ink in perfect, dramatic splotches. The paper was expensive, the kind Mom saves for important correspondence, as if quality stationery might somehow elevate their desperation. Dearest Isolde, we write with heavy hearts, hoping you'll reconsider your statement at the upcoming hearing. Maris made mistakes, but she meant well, we all did. Think of our family legacy, the Drummond name that spans 4 generations in this community. Is this how you want it to end? In disgrace and prison jumpsuits? This will destroy the family name forever. With eternal love, Mom and Dad. I folded the letter precisely along its creases and placed it in the file marked evidence. Their manipulations had become so transparent I could practically see through them like cheap gauze. My phone buzzed. It was Eliza. We're approved. Her voice sparkled through the speaker. The condo is yours if you still want it, mountain view and all. I pressed my palm against the kitchen counter to steady myself. When can we close? That's the best part. The sellers are motivated. We can close by Friday. The same day my parents' foreclosure finalizes. The universe has a poetry to it sometimes. I'll be there, I said, and for the first time in months, my voice didn't waver. Later that afternoon, my email pinged with a notification from the bank's fraud department. The formal determination letter arrived with language so satisfying I read it twice. After thorough investigation, we have determined the accounts in question were accessed fraudulently. Your credit score will be restored to its pre-incident status of 812. We regret the inconvenience this has caused. 812, higher than before the theft began. Years of financial discipline finally recognized. I drafted my response to my parents' letter with the same careful precision they taught me when writing thank you notes as a child. Asterisk actions have consequences. I didn't destroy our family, your choices did. Asterisk. That night, I slept without dreaming for the first time since finding Maris posing beside that champagne-colored SUV. Friday arrived, crisp and clear, autumn sunlight streaming through the courthouse windows as I took my seat in the front row. The wooden bench felt solid beneath me. Detective Bateman nodded from across the aisle, case files stacked neatly beside him. When they brought my family in, I barely recognized them. Dad's shoulders hunched forward, his usual commanding posture collapsed. Mom's hair hung limp, her makeup-free face a map of new lines. Maris wouldn't look at me at all. The court calls Isolde Drummond for her victim impact statement, the judge announced. I approached the podium, my heels clicking against marble. The sound echoed, decisive, rhythmic, unstoppable. The papers in my hand didn't tremble. For 29 years, I believed family meant protection and support. Instead, mine taught me that family could mean exploitation and theft. I detailed each betrayal with clinical precision. The forged signatures, the drained accounts, the lies to extended family about my mental state, the student loans I never took, the house refinance I never authorized. When confronted, they told me I was too uptight about money. But this was never about money. It was about trust and respect, both of which they systematically destroyed. My parents' faces transformed as I spoke, shock blooming as they realized how thoroughly I documented their crimes. They never imagined I would expose the Full pattern of abuse to strangers. Privacy was always our family religion. Your Honor, I'm not here seeking revenge. I'm here seeking justice and protection, not just for myself, but for others they might exploit. My parents and sister viewed me not as a person to love, but as a resource to deplete. The judge's gaze never wavered from my face. Thank you, Ms. Drummond. You've shown remarkable courage. The sentencing came swiftly. 5 years for my parents with possible parole after 2, plus full restitution. 3 years for Maris for identity theft and loan fraud. As the bailiff led them away, I stood directly in their path. For one moment, we were face to face. You didn't love me, I said. Quietly, so only they could hear. You loved what you could take from me. Mom's face crumpled. Dad looked away. Maris finally met my eyes, hers swimming with tears that might even be genuine. Too late. I signed the closing papers for my Mountain View condo that afternoon. The keys felt substantial in my palm, heavier than their actual weight, weighted with triumph. That evening, Reed brought champagne to my empty living room. We sat on the floor, backs against bare walls, glasses catching the last golden light of sunset streaming through uncurtained windows. To boundaries, he toasted, clinking his glass against mine. And consequences, I added. My phone rang. Detective Bateman. I answered immediately. Ms. Drummond, I wanted to give you a heads up. Your parents are attempting an appeal. I straightened. On what grounds? There. Claiming you gave verbal permission for all the financial transactions, that this was a family. Understanding that you're now denying. Of course they are, even now, they can't accept responsibility. Will it work? I asked. Not likely. Your documentation is too thorough and their pattern too established. But I thought you should know. As I hung up, another notification popped up on my phone screen, a link to a GoFundMe page. The thumbnail showed Maris's face, carefully composed in an expression of wounded innocence. The headline read, Family Persecution. Help us fight injustice. I clicked the phone off without opening the link. Some stories don't deserve my attention anymore. Through my new windows, the mountain stood silent sentinel against the darkening sky. Immovable. Permanent. Just like the boundaries I've finally learned to enforce. A year later, I arranged a platter of cheese and crackers on my granite countertop, pausing to admire how the afternoon sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my Mountain View condo. The view still took my breath away, rolling foothills, giving way to snow-capped peaks in the distance. My home. Actually mine. Need help with anything? Eliza called from the living room where she's adjusting a framed letter. On the wall, my promotion to senior risk strategist at the firm. Just bring that bottle of champagne, I answered, smiling as I heard the doorbell. A year ago, I would have dropped everything to answer my parents' calls. Now, I silence my phone during meetings, set boundaries with colleagues, and most importantly, own this space where no one can take anything from me without permission. Reed arrived with Detective Bateman Rowan, as he insisted I call him now, both carrying housewarming gifts. The detective's presence no longer triggered the anxiety it once did. Instead, I felt a rush of gratitude for the man who believed me when others didn't. Place looks amazing, as Reed said, whistling appreciatively at the mountain panorama. Worth every minute of spreadsheet analysis we did. Later that week, I noticed Jenna from accounting hunched over her desk, eyes red-rimmed. Something in her posture, the protective curve of her shoulders, the way she kept checking her phone reminded me of myself a year ago. Everything okay? I asked, closing her office door. She hesitated before sliding her phone across the desk. My brother took out a credit card in my name. Third one this year. I recognized the fear in her eyes, the same paralyzing mix of betrayal and family loyalty that once kept me silent. When my family stole from me, I thought I'd lost everything. I told her, my voice steady, but sometimes the strongest foundations are built after everything else crumbles. I shared my story, not as the victim, but as someone who survived and rebuilt. I offered both practical next steps for fraud reporting and the emotional reassurance that protecting yourself isn't selfish. By the time she left my office, her shoulders had straightened. She had a plan. 1 year after the sentencing, I hosted a small dinner at my condo. Eliza brought a bottle of wine. Reed arrived with homemade bread. Detective Bateman, Rowan, brought his famous apple pie. We gathered around my dining table, the mountains framed perfectly through the window behind us. To chosen family, I said, raising my glass. The ones who respect your boundaries. Their glasses clinked against mine, and for a moment the warmth in the room felt like what family should have been all along. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a prison call as I sat at my kitchen island. My mother's voice would be on the other end, likely with another apology that somehow twists into blame. I declined it, turning instead to the financial literacy program proposal spread before me. The program targets victims of family financial abuse, people like me, like Jenna, people who need both practical tools and emotional support to rebuild. My phone buzzed again. Another prison call. I silenced it without a second thought and added a final signature to the proposal. Later that evening, friends gathered on my balcony. Someone I've been dating for a few months, someone who asks before borrowing so much as a pen, poured wine as laughter filled the cooling air. My phone lit up again. Prison call. As I watched the call fade from my screen, I wondered if there are some bridges that shouldn't be rebuilt, even after the debt is paid. When is cutting ties completely the healthiest choice, and when is there value in allowing carefully guarded reconciliation? I don't have all the answers yet, but for the first time since that day in my parents' driveway, I have the freedom to decide for myself.